Hello. Time to talk about Thomas Aquinas on faith and reason. I got a lot of interesting things to say about Thomas Aquinas. So many weird things tucked in there. But this is the real helpful one, I think. So, faith and reason are both ways of knowing for Aquinas. They're both legitimate paths towards truth. Some things we can know by reason. Some things we can know by faith. Well, that's kind of weird. We'll have to talk about that. Some things we can know both ways. And presumably, some things we can know neither way. Well, they're things to be known. Okay, so things knowable by reason, things knowable by faith. Let's talk about things knowable by faith. Now remember, don't get too hung up on definitions, right? If someone's closing your mind by making you rely too strictly on one set of definitions, change it up, right? Try to see the world through a variety of descriptions. Okay, Aquinas says we can know things by faith. This is, right, when you read the Bible says, God exists, and the Bible says, murder is wrong. Aquinas thinks just, having that faith in that text and interpreting that text is a path towards truth. You get some truths that way. Some things we know by reason alone, right? Reason and not by faith. There's not a whole lot of geometry in the Bible, and what's there is not perfect. So, everything that you know by geometric reasoning, all of your Euclid is knowable with no reference to God. Now, some things can be known both ways. Aquinas thinks that God exists and that murder is wrong. You could know by faith, or you could figure it out yourself. He actually asks, it's an interesting little question. Is it wasteful of God to tell us these things both ways? Isn't it redundant? And his answer is no, because even though you could perhaps figure these things out, it's real good that we can know that you shouldn't be murdering folks and so on without needing to be smart enough to figure it out. Reasoning takes some time to develop, right? So we can know that. It's good that God told us things both ways. Now, are there things that can be known by faith and not by reason? He's going to say, yeah, there's those things too. Things like the incarnation, right? Jesus becoming man. Oh, it's Christmas time, isn't it? Things like, actually, one of my favorite ones. He says that we cannot know that the earth began in time. That is, we can't know that the world isn't infinitely old. I should say world, not earth. We can't know that creation isn't infinitely old, except by faith. He takes he takes Aristotle's line that's, for all we know, Aristotle could be right when he thinks that, if the cause is eternal, then the effect should be eternal, right? And Christians will apply this kind of logic from Aristotle to Jesus, right? The begotten Son of God, who's also eternal. How eternal and begotten? Well, eternally relying on the begetter. So Aristotle applies that to the world, to the totality of the natural world. The natural world is infinitely old, Aristotle thinks, because it relies on an eternal creator. So its age is as old as the creation. Anyway, beside the point. Now, here's the real important thing about Aquinas on faith and reason. These two tracks, these two paths of knowledge, do not contradict. No, he really thinks they don't contradict. They don't contradict. Nothing that you learn by reason, without making mistakes, right? Nothing you learn by reason, when you're reasoning rightly, is going to contradict from anything you learn by faith, when you're interpreting rightly. So Aquinas is going to say that there's this kind of back and forth. The things you know by reason without faith should not contradict the things that you know by faith. And if they do, then you've got a couple different options for you, right? One, maybe you need to go back and rethink your reasoning. Are we sure that we're seeing this correctly? Or we go back to our revelation and ask, are we sure we're interpreting this correctly? And we've got a long history. Well, Aquinas has a long history already, but we've seen more since then, of course, of something that we're confident, whoever that we is, something that we're confident is what the Bible means. We come to find out later, it's certainly something false, and it's certainly not really what matters in this passage anyway, right? So for Aquinas, we're not going to just say, hey, look, the Bible says this, so it must be true. We're not going to disregard our doubts. Reason has a role even in faith, because the two can't contradict, right? God wouldn't, right? I mean, if one's an email and one's a text, right? Whatever God says by email might be different from what God says by text, but they're going to be consistent. They're going to be compatible. So if by reason, God is telling you something about reality, something about goodness, and revelation is telling you something about reality, something about goodness, those things should be compatible. Those things should not contradict. If it appears that they do, you have to use your reason to find the way to reconcile them. And if there's no way to reconcile them, check your reason, check your interpretation. Everything should fit together. People who don't let reason play any role in their religion, do they have faith? What keeps you from letting reason play a role in your religion? Is it that you're afraid of what you're going to see? Is it afraid that you might change your mind something? It's afraid that you might lose your crowd? I mean, shunning is a big thing in religion, right? There's fears, right? Sure, of course there's fears. But faith isn't afraid to look, I think. Faith isn't afraid to look. And there's no reason to think that reason is going to lead you away from your faith. I mean, any faith worth having, I think, is going to evolve. It's going to adjust itself. Anyway, I've said plenty for now, I think. Love ya.